not roam at large. So basically, the whole west side is not at large. You have to keep your livestock fenced. From Highway 20, south of the Intercoastal, Highway 27 west, which is Cameron and the west part of Creole, you have to preserve, you have to fence them in. And then north of the Intercoastal and west of Bell City, which is basically Sweet Lake, more or less, north of the Intercoastal, you have to fence them in. Everywhere else, which is basically east of Bell City, which is Lowry, Klondike, the east part, east of Highway 27, south of the Intercoastal, which is all the Miami Corporation, Little Chenier, Grand Chenier, East Creole, those are all livestock at large. That's fine. Don't want to change anything, just giving you some background. That's one statute. Then you turn to the next statute, then it talks about livestock are not permitted on certain state highways and roads. And it's a little confusing, it's hard to follow, and I think that's what needs to be updated. And what I'd like to do is change that ordinance to say that here are the roads, instead of, basically livestock should not be allowed on any state highway or parish hardtop road, except for those roads we identify. And those will usually be, for instance, we just have an issue that's ongoing with Mermentau River Road, which would be, we would say no livestock on any state highways or parish road except at Mermentau River Road north or east of the cattle guard, because there's a cattle guard, so we'd allow Chenier Pardue Road, it would be east of the cattle guard, so forth and so on. So that's what I'd like y'all to think about, is what areas, what roads, what parish, primarily it's going to be parish roads, not state highways, but there may be a state highway that winds through, I think, which we talked about, Big Pasture Road is technically a state highway, maybe, I don't know. Right now, the end of Big Pasture Road, the way the ordinance reads, the end of Big Pasture where the gravel begins would be excluded. You could allow livestock on that gravel road, but we understand there's not any livestock down there anymore, so we may not want to, you know, and then some of the road is hard surface now. So again, just think about that. What areas of the parish would you want to allow livestock on your parish roads? Like I said, east Chenier Pardue, east or north Mermentau River Road, so forth and so on. But just think about that, because we do need to fix that ordinance.
Tom, I know back in 03, I think we brought that up. And I know a lot of the families had given right-of-ways because of the roads, because of the let the cattle be on the roads. And I know we had a big community meeting over there at the Creole Fire Station. I mean, I tell you what, they was about ready to hang me and Norma Joe and those.
That's right. We need, I would rather list those roads as being the exception. So for instance, right now, Opalaw Road, which Opalaw Road is in, it's in Sweet Lake, but it might be it's behind.
Thomas?
Yeah, it's Thomas. It's behind Chesson's back there off of 384. Heck, there's 3 or 4 nice houses now. I mean, there's no cattle roaming across that road. Bozo Road, we might want to keep Bozo Road, you know, I mean, but and there's big pastures listed at a certain part of big pasture. Again, I just want to clean it up. I don't want to, again, I don't want to change the practice of whatever we're doing or what the families expected when they granted us a right-of-way, but I'd rather list those roads as being, to allow livestock rather than this convoluted of where you can't. I mean, it just really, it's because we've had some in the Klondike, I think it was Lowry, you know, deputy called and said there's livestock on the highway. I said, well, issue a citation, so I had to go look at the statute. I'm going, well, this is very confusing. Yeah. Anyway, so just give it
that's
some
a
thought.
state road that it was getting on.
Yes, it's a state highway, but again, it's confusing because the ordinance describes areas of the parish when it comes to the road issue. Not that large. We're not making any changes, but we're just livestock on roadways. Again, it doesn't talk about roadways, it talks about areas of the parish. And those areas of the parishes where livestock is precluded from being on roads is not consistent with the livestock at large areas. They're inconsistent, so that's why we need to clean it up. So
I
again,
think right now, Tom, Shenya Party Road, there's no cows on it, they passed that. It's just a shell road.
yeah, and it may be that, again, families may say, well, there's no cattle there now, but there may be next year when things are different, but we want to maintain the ability to have it, which again is fine. I don't want to take any rights or expectations away. I just want to clarify in our ordinance what roads
Yeah.
we can allow, whether we're willing to allow livestock on certain roads. And that's it. Okay.
Would it be better, would it be good to just meet with each police juryman that has certain roads in their district?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's your
I mean,
constituents.
I don't think I have a road in.
You probably
that
don't.
has-
Joe probably doesn't. Kirk probably maybe has a few or doesn't. But I think, one, I'm talking about it, so people will start calling you going, what are y'all gonna do about our livestock?
They don't
Again,
know.
so if they call you, just say, hey, we just need to fix our ordinance to identify what streets are highways and which cannot. So we want to get it right. So, and we don't have to do it next month or next, I mean, it's just something that I wanted to bring to your attention, the public's attention, so that we can address it, just to make it a better ordinance. Okay.
Anybody? I'd like to talk about another subject, Tom, if you don't mind. Hackberry, High School's been built, the new school's been built. We're having problems with the contractor, cleaning the roads. I get many calls every day, and when it rains, we have a major problem with slippage and everything else. Is any way that, I was under the understanding that a contractor that dirtied the road was responsible for cleaning the road. I'd just like to know what we can do about it legally. Because, like I said, we're having to send road crews out to clean that road, and that's not what our road crew's for. So,
Well, I had an incident in the big pasture area where, I think it was the sheriff's department that notified a landowner that had a cement truck come out of the yard and it put all kind of mud on the road. They went to the landowner saying, you need to get with that trucking company and get that cleaned up.
well, we've already talked.
I don't know exactly if that's the case, but that's about the case.
We've already
that
talked with
area.
them, and the deputies are going over there once or twice a week, telling them they gotta clean it up. They don't clean it, so we have to send a road crew over to actually clean the road. And actually what they're doing is scraping the road, which is damaging the road. So, I don't wanna damage the road.
You said scraping the road?
They're scraping it.
Are they cleaning it up? Is that what they're,
But what the road crew's doing is using a backhoe to actually clean the road, because that's all we
they
got.
have sweeper machines that are designed.
Right.
Has a sweeper there, you're just not using it.
Okay.
They're not using it. The problem with it is, they don't care what we tell them.
Okay. I have a note. I'll do two things. One, I'll see if, I don't know the answer, but is there a criminal violation? So is there some traffic or road violation that the sheriff can address? Number two, if we have a ordinance or if it's in their contract, I'll take a look at that, but we definitely will do something.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Anything else from Mr. Tom?
Want to charge them a bill every time we go out
Well,
there?
that's what I'm thinking, but I don't know. That's what I wanted to do, charge them triple. Anyway, thank you, Tom.
He's next.
Oh,
All right, I'm not moving.
is that the condemnation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I've gotten a few phone calls from people in the community or your permit department, if people complain to them and the permit notifies me of some structures that had, damages from Hurricane Laura and or Delta. And just generally, the question becomes, when do you, if you want to, and when would you want to start the condemnation process? The process of condemnation is your permit department gives notice to the landowner, hey, your property is in disrepair. You got 60, 90 days, whatever it is, time to fix it or demolish it or do something. If you do not, then you have to come to the police jury for a hearing, and you decide what to do, and you can give them more time, so forth and so on. I did not want to make that decision, because we're a year and a half or so after the hurricanes. I know some people are still dealing with insurance issues, and then the attorneys or insurance companies don't want their homes torn down yet for those litigation reasons, and we obviously don't want to impair that ability for people to recover from the insurance companies. So anyway, if you want to say just wait more time or case by case, again, it has to come to you, but your permit department would be sending letters to certain landowners who don't seem to be either moving forward with insurance, not doing anything, or just not responding to their request to clean up the
I
property.
think it ought to be case to case, because we've been going long enough. But there is, like you said, and I'm one of them, fighting the insurance, but that's coming to a head pretty quick.
Well, we're not going to take any action. If we send for instance, the permit department is not aware, and they send a letter out, and some attorney calls and says, hey, we're in litigation, well, we're not going to bring that to you. So
The ones that's just trashed up and ain't planning on doing nothing.
basically, that's right. If we don't get a response, or we've got one particular instance where the homeowner is deceased, we don't know the next of kin, it's just nothing happening. We got to figure out how to pursue that with no one, around, but we can do it. But, okay, I just didn't want to do anything without at least talking to you about
And
it.
we have some of those that you're talking about,
Yes.
Tom, but I know in my area, there's a lot of them that's been issued. I don't want to condemn anybody's property. All we wanted to do is clean it up, so.
Well, sometimes the letter gets the attention of the homeowner or the property owner, and again, as with violations where we file petitions for violations, we're always willing to work. Just sometimes you have to get their attention either with a letter or a petition, and, we go from there.
Yes,
But we're always willing to work with anybody that's willing to work with us.
Mr. Chairman, one question real quick. We haven't gotten any feedback on our private property debris removal. We would be hard pressed to condemn before we get that.
Sure.
Yeah, where we at with that? I could maybe alleviate some of the problem.
Yeah, so, it doesn't look like Dan is in here, but, the last update I received from his office is 26 properties have been cleared by FEMA. So I think that's, more than enough for us to go ahead and start developing our bid packets and bid it out for the lowest bidder per structure, and then still continue to clear properties through FEMA. But if we have 26 properties, feel confident enough that we know we're gonna get reimbursed from FEMA for, we could start the project and go ahead and proceed cleaning up properties. Even these properties that are condemned, we can add to the list and submit it to FEMA, and as we're going through the program for the next 2 or 3 months, continue to clear properties. But 26 is more than enough for us to bid out and get a fair price.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm ready for that.
yeah, I could possibly take care of some of the issues.
Same thing, if the permit department thinks they need to send a letter out, we get a response back saying, hey, I'm on the list, or I'm waiting for a response, then again, we don't want to pursue anything. But there are a few properties that need attention. Again, I just didn't want to do it without talking about it.
And we'll vet the properties before we send a letter. We'll make sure that Casey Mack at the OEP office goes through and removes any off the list that submitted for the PPPDR program, so they don't receive letters.
Can y'all,
Yeah, and just so y'all know, the permitting office does not just go out in the field, look at a property, okay, we need to send that property owner a notice, he needs to clean it. We only move on this unless we have a complaint, of someone calling in, riding by, calling, hey, what's this property? We do coordinate with the OEP office to see if these properties have, applied to be in the PPDR program. And if they have, then we don't move on them, if we do get a complaint.
Carrie, is there any way, like, before y'all send them a letter, let the juror know that what's happening in that district, so when you do get a phone call, we know what we're talking about?
We absolutely can, yes.
Yeah, we can copy you, or just.
Yes,
okay.
we'll notify you. That's-
One thing like Creole, the reason Creole looks the way it does.
Scott ain't cleaned it up.
No, I would.
I know they're on.
He'd be on his tractor.
Yeah,
They're on the
But-
PPDR.
because Kirk and them, they want to bring their cattle back, but I mean, they clean it up, FEMA won't pay for it.
That's
Or
right.
they, they put
We
it in a
have, I don't
pile.
think there's been any, well, I haven't seen a complaint from your district. It's been Johnson Bayou, one in Grand Lake, maybe a few in
Bunch of them in
Hackberry.
Hackberry.
Yeah. And Tom, I know, given notice, a lot of times these people, we can't get in touch with them. The mail is sent back to us, we certify mail these notices, so I don't know if we're gonna have to.
Now, I'll have an answer for that soon. I don't, off the top of my head, there is a process and procedure, but.
There's
Yeah,
quite a
'cause
few
we-
here in Cameron. so.
I know we have a couple of them in Hackberry like that. Kara's group has been fighting it for a long time now. But a couple of those hasn't been taken care of since a hurricane before that, so.
And we give them plenty of time, we give them actually, if the parish has to go out to remove it, we get 3 quotes, the lowest bidder gets the job. And so we give 2 weeks of the final notice to the landowner. So if they don't reimburse the parish for the amount of the lowest bid, then a lien is put on the property. So,
And we don't want that.
so that's,
But like I said, the Kara's group, in my district, it all comes through me, and then I go with the jury, so,
but yeah, we'll do a better job at notifying you guys and if we get a complaint within your district.
Up here, the waste management contract we need to add that to your agenda. But I've got half a dozen comments on the contract that I think you ought to be aware of. And if you have any questions, of course, I'm here. So I don't know if I can, now's a good time.
it's good.
So, it'll be a 3-year contract with an option to renew for 3 years. The renewal option, the parties have to agree. So at the end of 3 years, you can say, no, we want to try it. So but you're locked in for the 3 years. And it basically, the current contract ends the end of this month. So April of this year for 3 years. It's a significant increase percentage-wise. It's from 12 something a can to, the first year it'd be $16.25, which is about a $4 increase. Again, that's significant in percentage, but you say, well, it's $4. Well, when you do the math, it adds up. Year 2 is going to be $16.75. They're going up 50 cents. And both of those numbers are less than their initial $17 and change. So they did come down off that, but it will be an increase in cost. Your roll-offs are, you pay as needed. For a 40-yard, it's $8.45 a box. For a 30-yard, it's $825, and for a 20-yard, it's $625. That's their cost. And they came down a little bit off of their original quote, not much, but a little bit. Plus, there's a $60 a month rental on a box. So if you have a box sitting there for 6 months, it'll be $60 a month just for the rental. So those are the most significant terms. That's the price, that's the cost. And I guess we were somewhat fortunate that they did come down off of their initial prices because we had no leverage. We have nobody else interested. We did the best we could. A few other things, apartments or condominiums of more than 4 units are not included. I think we don't have any, except for the elderly housing in Grand Lake, that would not be considered, they would not pick up per unit there. And I think they have their own trash deposit there. But just again, making you aware that anything more than 4 units is not. Now, that doesn't include mobile home parks and RVs are included in pickup. So every mobile home and every occupied RV at an RV park will have pickup. And y'all had decided that last year. So complaints, if there is a complaint from a resident, a customer to Waste Management, they've got to log it, who called, when they called, what the general description was, so forth and so on. And anytime you want a copy of that log or that information, they've got to provide it to you so you'll know who's complaining, what they did about it. If we call, if the police jury, if you call, Well, they're not gonna log that, because in theory, Katie would be sending them an email, so we would know when we complained. Now, the complaint might go from a resident to a juror to Katie, but again, I would just, a phone call, but always follow up a phone call with an email saying, just so we have and we would just keep our own log. But with respect to customers, they've got to keep a log of customers, so you'll know who's complaining and what they've done about it.
Tommy, if our cans get less, well, how often are they gonna, check that?
It's an annual, so it's on an annual basis, so, but that's a good
What I'm
point.
getting at,
Yeah.
this job will be finishing up before the end of the year, and you're talking probably 300-400 cans,
That's a good point. We need to do it, then we need to.
every
I
3
think-
months or something.
So here's the, bless you. I think we need to address it because it would be to our advantage, because we expect that the RVs are going to be diminished, reduced over the next 12 months, so it'll save us some money. In year 2, that might reverse, that we start, if CP2 comes online, and y'all said, so I think what we'll probably do is say, at any point, either party can request a new count, say, once a quarter. You don't want to do it a month, but
Yeah.
at least once a quarter, if we feel like we've had a significant loss in RVs or
Right.
residents, that we can request it, and I think that'd be fair to both sides. That's
Yeah,
a good
Yeah,
point.
that's probably better than going a whole year.
yeah.
Tom, what about a penalty that we could put on them when they don't pick up
Yes,
trash?
we
cans?
do, liquidated damages, so it's $100 per miss. I say, that's my comment, it's not, so if they miss a can, and they go down the street and they have 24 hours to pick it up, so they miss it, you get a call, Katie gets a call, we notify Waste Management, within 24 hours, they have to pick up, go back and get that can, that trash. If they don't do that, then it's $100 per can.
What if that one can don't report it?
Then how, we don't know.
I mean, they don't call Waste Management, they call us.
Tree falls in the wood, nobody hears it, then it doesn't make a sound. I know, that's the point, if we don't know. But if we do
It's
know.
on Facebook.
Well, I guess, I'd again ask the public, if anybody listens to these, hey, if your can doesn't get picked up, call the police jury and let us know, or call your police jury. It ends up in the administration's lap, and they send an email, and if it's not picked up within 24 hours, then we keep track, and we send them.
They typically know who to call.
Yeah.
But that truck's got a camera, because I had some people call, say they didn't pick up the trash, but they put it out after the time. So they checked the camera, there was nothing there when they passed, so,
So that it's $100 per can. They have, we notify them, or the customer, and again, that's that log, that if the customer calls Waste Management directly, there's a log there of the call, so forth and so on. The only other thing, I don't know if this was in past contracts, but there's a paragraph or provision called extraordinary adjustments, which is basically extraordinary expenses. If there's a significant increase in expenses on Waste Management's side, they can request an adjustment. It's a 20%, and there's several provisions that would entitle them to invoke this paragraph. One is a 20% increase in cost of transportation, which includes fuel, which, in the last 6 months, it's gone up 20%. But it requires the parish to we have the option, basically, if they think there's some extraordinary circumstances where they can invoke this provision, they provide the information to us, that they provide the justification, then we have 90 days to approve or disapprove. We don't have to accept it. Again, it's one of those things that's in the contract that I'll make y'all aware of, that if an event that happens in the next 3 years, you know that it's there, but we're entitled to all the backup documentation that they have to, give us to support their decision, and that we can decide whether that's a reasonable request or not. But other than that, that's about it.
Is this something we need to move forward to the voting?
Yes, because the contract ends March 28th or 29th of this month. Your next meeting is April 1st. If you waited till April 1st, it wouldn't be that big a deal, but just authorization for the president to execute after my approval, because we're still working out some things. As of this morning, I got an email back that I think it looks like they approved my couple of changes. We've been going back and forth, and there's 2 things left. And he said yes to the 2 things, I'm pretty sure, but I need to study it. But once I sign off on that, then you can execute. But I would like you to take action this afternoon. Any other questions?
I got a question, it had nothing to do with that, it has to do with a personal request. I'd like for you to review any issues we have with state lands concerning the beaches. We have some encroachment issues on the Johnson Bayou side I want to address, and one of the questions is, where does my property end and where does the state lands begin? There is a description of a meander line.
Like private owners
Yeah.
and the state? Okay.
Yeah, they're blocking the access on the beach, and it could not only is it, could be harmful, could be a safety issue, but
Okay.
they don't have the right to block, and if they do, I want to know how far they have to be from the water, things of that nature.
All right. Got it.
Thank you. I don't know if it's the right place, but I appreciate it.
No, that's,
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
y'all.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, item number 6, Angler Bay Road, Mr. Don Saba. Is he here? There he is.
Good morning. About a year ago, we met with some of the police jury members and some of the staff about accepting the Angler Bay subdivision roads into under parish maintenance. The development was built, I think, in 2004. Currently, we have about 37 residences in the subdivision. We have 4 under construction, maybe 5, and we just think we'd like to ask the police jury to take the roads under their maintenance, and we went, after the meeting last year, we went to the property owners and got approval from all the property owners and the owners of the roads to donate the roads or dedicate the roads to the parish. And we had a title opinion done on the road ownership. So all of that's been taken care of, and so we'd like to present it to the police jury for their consideration.
Mr. Don, can you tell us how much of your subdivision is paved or cemented? And how much is shell?
I would estimate probably 75% of it is paved. There's a portion that is reverted to limestone over the years. It was kind of a low area. And essentially since 2010, we have been purchasing limestone, and members of the subdivision have been spreading it and maintaining the roads where they are in disrepair, fixing potholes. And so that's been an ongoing process. But there's, I don't know the exact percentage, but most of it is paved. And there's some part that's basically down to limestone now that we've been adding over the years.
And that part that you're talking about now, that's limestone, is pretty much the entrance part of the
Yeah, the entrance,
of
yes.
the property.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Does it meet does it meet the minimum standards for a parish road? Have you ever been presented a guideline for a road to be accepted from the parish?
Yeah, well, that was brought up in one of my phone calls to the parish, and so I contacted the engineer who developed the guidelines for a parish road, and they sent me a copy of those guidelines. And I contacted an engineer with Southwest Materials out of Westlake. I think his name is Jeremy Vandecour, and asked him to review it, and we were supposed to meet for him to inspect our roads. And he called me back and he said basically what the parish guidelines really don't apply to an existing road. They apply to, excuse me, they apply to a road that's being constructed. That after several years, due to traffic, erosion, and maintenance, the characteristics that are set out in the guidelines really can't apply because they're not valid anymore.
Well, that's exactly why we developed these plans. It's because the substandard roads are being built, the parish accepts them, and it's 5 or 6 years. The parish has to spend a ton of money to bring them roads up to safe travel. And that's why those plans was developed, so the parish would be guaranteed to have a road in place that was built to the standards that we set in place, so that we didn't have to spend money right off the bat. It was so bad that in some cases, we would accept the road and we had to turn around and within a month and spend money on that same road that we accepted. And that's why the plan was put in place.
Yeah, and I have no way of knowing what standards were used when the roads were built.
Well, a little,
When did y'all put that in place?
we put that in place,
Long time ago.
it's in the ordinance somewhere, wrote, when we put it in place. But the thing is, the reasoning was just like I said, was because of that fact. And I don't know when it was put in place. I can't remember. I'd have to get back with you.
Been a while.
But it's been a while.
But
we had those
can
things.
these roads be inspected and see if?
And if I'm not mistaken, it may be a different road. When that subdivision was built, this is just my recollection, because I was the road superintendent at some point in that time frame. We provided the minimum standards to the owner that built the subdivision, and he refused to build them to them specs. He said he was gonna make it a private road and we wasn't gonna follow those rules.
I remember that.
So,
Yeah,
and we should have we could or should have a record of that somewhere.
yeah, I mean, I've been a
And-
property owner since 2008 or actually 2006, late 2006. We built our residence in 2008. And early on, the roads were in good enough shape. After Hurricane Ike, which it went under water for a little while, and with the construction thereafter, and they started deteriorating. So we took it upon ourselves, most of the property owners in the subdivision contributed every year to a fund to purchase limestone and to try to keep them up to standards. And I've heard on several occasions that the roads weren't built to the requirements. And that's why I approached the engineer about getting them tested. And that's when he told me, he said, what the parish guidelines don't apply. And so that part of the reason I'm here is we want to work with the police jury and with the parish to try to come to some solution. Because I understand your viewpoint, but I hope you appreciate our viewpoint. We have 37 residences in there, and we have a pretty good pride of ownership of the property. Everyone is rebuilt. There are currently 4 or 5 being built in the subdivision. So it's an ongoing development that is adding to the tax base of the parish.
I
And
understand.
Big tax.
we just need some help.
Maybe the thing to do would be, and I don't even know if we don't have an engineer on staff, but if we had an engineer on staff, they could go out there, inspect it, see what it would take to get the
Bring it
road
to
up.
that standard.
That's what we need to do.
Bring that standard up to what it would cost to bring that standard up, and maybe work with the landowners in a cost share, some sort of way to get that road up to specs.
I
so
think
that
we
it
would-
could be abandoned, so it
Not-
could be accepted as a parish road.
I can't speak for everybody because, actually we don't have an HOA, so I'm just an individual in there. And, but I think we would be willing to work with the parish in getting it assessed, just to kind of find out what is required.
Well, and another thing, might not have to do the whole thing, do where it's bad, and then later on, accept another part to where it wouldn't be so hard on everybody, you know?
Yeah. Mhm.
Work it into the.
Yeah, I mean, the front part of the subdivision, everybody has to use, and as you get further back, you know, the other feeder roads aren't used as much, so.
And most of those are cemented or already paved.
The very back portion is still gravel.
Right.
And it's technically part of the subdivision, so we've included it. But, you know, it's, like I said, I'm here to solicit some help and to work with the parish in getting this done.
We've addressed this issue having to do with that developer. He did the same thing with the fire system.
Yeah,
He
the
did it-
water, I
so,
was here
yeah,
for that.
remember that? My point is, it brings to the point, maybe we need to be more stringent upon our developers in the future and have some rules that say, if you're gonna have a private road, you're gonna guarantee that you're gonna maintain that private road. Because all he did was leave these people out to dry.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to them, and it's not fair to the
Well,
community.
this is the deal, son, in Lake Charles, you can't have it. You gotta meet that standard. When I built my subdivision, I couldn't say it's private, I had to build, it don't matter, I gotta build that road to that standard.
And maybe we need to bring our stuff up to.
That was a
what we
lot
have
of,
in our county
yeah, but
right.
that was, I think that was some talk about, zoning. We would do that through zoning, but the way it was now, I don't think we could do that. It was if you had zoning in your parish, then you could designate an area, certain areas that had to abide by that zoning. But we chose not to go that direction. So I don't know what the avenue is, but there got to be an
But before you
avenue.
give them a permit, we can make an ordinance, before you give them a permit, that road has to be up to our standard. That's how Lake Charles is.
Yeah.
You have to have
Yeah.
engineered drawings and everything.
Maybe.
You can't sell the first lot until.
But I don't know how this is going, I don't know how this is gonna help this gentleman.
Yeah, I understand his, that's bad.
Maybe
Do a
there's
piece at a time or something, work it in, and,
maybe with the staff and the legal team, you get with them and maybe they can work a way, we can have your issue
Work a-
taken
work-
care of.
Work a proposal that'd be fitting for both groups. Maybe not accept the whole thing, possibly.
Piecemeal it at a time where it wouldn't be such a burden on the landowners, but
Okay?
You
Okay.
do have the option of accepting gravel roads in your ordinance too. I know we talk a lot about bringing it up to paved minimum requirements, but you do allow the acceptance of gravel roads to their specifications, and it's only 20 feet by 4 inches thick.
Well,
So it is gonna have to be piecemealed and considered, because some of it's paved, some of it's limestone, but if you want, we can work with Mr. Don and kind of section it out on a map, so you can really see what's going on.
yeah.
And ask which sections you wanna adopt, which ones you
And
don't.
we may have to get an engineer involved to say, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z to get this section of road to the standards, and it's gonna cost this amount of money.
We're gonna run into something right there, because somebody that's got a shell road going out there, they're gonna wanna say, well, y'all adopted theirs, y'all need to adopt mine. But if they put some money in it, that's gonna stop that, you know. Other words, cost share or something to get it up to standard. That way
Yeah,
we're
we're-
not out there blacktopping everybody's shell road going to their barn or their camp. We can't afford that. That road that needs to be repaired now.
again, this is not my district, this is Sonny's district. I mean, it is in Hackberry, so, and it don't make no difference where it's at, it's in this Cameron Parish. These people pay and it goes back to, they're paying an awful lot of taxes in this area. So we need to at least help them out in some way. And Lee's right, we need somebody to go in there and say, hey, you know, so the right engineer come in and take samples or whatever we have to do, and then we still gonna piecemeal it together, no matter how you look at it, right?
And this would be just, yeah, but this would just be, in the case of a road that's existing.
That's what I'm saying, but what if somebody has a shell road going to their camp, now they want a blacktop? And we accept them one and not another, and they're gonna come up with the same reason, well, we pay taxes here too.
Yeah.
But if
But
they have the
you-
cost share in there, it's
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
stop that.
No, yeah, you're right. We're gonna have to have the
Figure this out where
landowners
we can
pick up
make
the
it work.
costs.
That's what he said, he's agreed, in fact, In fact, I've talked with him several times, and the people that he's talking with, the people in the subdivision have agreed, most of them have agreed to,
Pay
you
the
know,
share.
pay
They
the
have
share.
invested their own time and funds into it. They've done surveys, they've done title opinions, which he's provided to us for review. The DA has it for review, and they have commitment from everyone to sign an easement, and that was the next step. So this is the third and final step is he's asking, what are you gonna make him do in order for us to adopt it? Are you willing to accept the gravel road if it's 20 feet by 4 inches thick? Yes or no, we can go work on it. If you're not comfortable with the paved road as is, hopefully next month we'll have a brand new engineer on staff because those resumes were due Monday. So we'll start interviewing, then maybe we could wait till we get an engineer on staff to go out there and bring a recommendation to you for the paved section.
Yeah, we need to work through this.
But if you want us to go ahead and start looking
Oh,
at the shell section, we can do that and work together.
One other question I got is that, can we give them any kind of credit for monies already spent? That they can prove as a homeowners association that they spent?
I don't know.
I don't think you can
That'd
pay-
that'd probably be a legal question or.
Yeah, that's probably.
We got legal people here.
Well, you can't, I don't
So,
think.
well, let us work on it a little bit. Shane and I'll get with John. We'll actually go out there and try to section off the sections for you and put it on a map so you know exactly what you're looking at. And, in the meantime, we'll get some samples and stuff together before we bring it back to you. But as long as you're.
How long is that total
gonna
road, do you
consider
think?
it,
The total road, it's probably in the order of a mile to mile and a half, and you count all the little.
Yeah, that's a little, they got different roads in there
Yeah.
and,
Yeah, 'cause, 3 years ago, we did one in Lake Charles, just to basically the same standards we have. A mile of it costs a little over $250,000 for a mile. To kind of give you an idea. what it
Was
costs.
that
That's the salt
starting from
cement and
scratch?
blacktop.
That's starting from scratch.
But the road was there, but it was dirt, okay?
Road-
Now,
road
we
was
had to
dirt.
salt cement it, because you can't blacktop over gravel, it just won't hold.
Yeah.
You gotta salt cement, and the salt cement's as much as the asphalt.
yeah.
So you gotta do that.
Yeah, you gotta fix the base. The base is the most important thing on the road. If you don't fix the base, you can put anything on top, it's gonna fall apart.
I understand, I understand.
Kurt,
Yeah,
I got a
think our
question
roads
too.
were built in 2004,
Don't look at me like that.
and so.
But all you gotta do is grind that up with the salt cement, you ain't gotta
Yeah.
remove it or nothing.
Okay, okay.
One of the questions I have is, a while ago you said you're having to put rock on a deteriorating road, basically. So where your limestone is, was it an asphalt road at the beginning?
It was.
And it's done deteriorated that much, you had
Yes.
to revert to
If-
limestone on it?
I think it's an elevation issue, I mean, that's my personal opinion.
Okay.
It was going underwater initially because there wasn't a proper ditch. And then the parish came in and put a ditch about 5 years ago. And since that time, we haven't had, the water doesn't go over the road as often, and so it's kind of stabilized. at
But
that
you don't
point.
have a foundation under it is what the problem is.
Why you got salt
So we'd have to
cement.
dig it all up and redo all that, that's a big cost.
I don't know about digging it up.
Well, you'd have to soil cement it and come back on the
Yeah,
top.
put the salt
And
cement.
the problem with it was the surrounding area where he's talking about, there was a dip in the road, and that's what caused it.
Yeah, the low
And-
spot.
And what's on both sides of it was
Swampy.
swampy.
Right.
So it made it very difficult.
And once the ditch was dug out by the parish, it drained better, and we haven't had the issue.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Don, so, Katie will work on this, she'll get back with you.
Okay.
And we'll
Yeah,
see
we've
what
been
we have to
exchanging
do.
emails,
Yes, sir.
and we'll accept and be glad to work with y'all in any kind of way.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
sir.
much.
I have one quick question for you. You mentioned, you worked with an engineer. Did he provide you any type of written report or any?
No, he didn't. He just, I sent him the road requirements for the parish, and he basically, in a phone conversation, told me, he said, I can't use this, it doesn't apply, because
Okay,
the
so he
road's
never
20,
even
the road's 15 years old.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Butch, I do have one question, on the permits for the, agenda this afternoon. The Priola and Gallaudet Development LLC,
Okay,
Do you want, are you ready to add this?
yeah,
Okay, because it was tabled last month, so.
yeah, we'll add it
Okay,
back
we'll add
on.
it on.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, we got some green cards. Mr. Ron Johnson, fire station on the island.
Thank you, Police Chairman. I'm here on behalf of the Fire Board, excuse my voice, sinus is acting up. On behalf of the Fire Board in Grand Lake. We had talked previously about using our insurance money to put up the fire station in Big Lake on the island instead of waiting on FEMA. We've contacted a total of 8 people, 8 contractors, metal building contractors so far. We've got a bid and a response from one of them. That's in the little 3-page packet that I laid before you. And this is a wood structure building. It's got some details on the bottom. And it comes in at a cost of $73,200. What we're after today is get your pre-approval. We have a meeting tonight. We thought your meeting would be on the 10th, but it's today. So we have a meeting tonight with the fire board to approve this or disapprove it, but it's gonna be approved. And we needed your pre-approval pending their approval tonight to proceed with this building as far as engineer and permitting. It would come out of the fire district's insurance money to pay for it.
I got one question. Meets all code, wind loads and all?
This is not engineered yet. We still have to get it engineered, Mr. Sonny, and before we get it to the permitting office.
Okay.
Sheriff,
There's enough.
do you have you feel comfortable with a wood pole barn lasting
Well,
over the years?
this is what we have. I like the metal better. But that's why I'd like an engineer's opinion on it to see
Okay.
what wind rating we could get out of that. Cause kinda like the building we had talked about the other day.
Right,
I just, with the metal beams going across, I don't know what wind rating this would have yet. This guy says that it would be wind rating for Cameron Parish, but the engineer hadn't put his stamp on it yet, so I can't speak for that yet.
okay.
Well, looking at this sheet, the Big Lake Fire Station, it says insurance received $109,000. And then we had the federal obligation is $39,000. So it looks like you got plenty of money
We have the money to cover that building, yes, sir.
plenty of money to cover that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I don't know, you want an approval from us?
Approval from y'all, because in case we can get this thing started with the engineers and the permitting office, we need to get the building tried to be done by September of this year. I have a letter from the rating system. This is not the rating for the fire departments itself. This is the buildings that was damaged for the storms. They've given us a 2-year time period. I had talked to the administration, and Johnson By and another one had got extensions on their rating, on their actual fire department rating. I talked to Dinah about that. This isn't the actual fire department rating. This is the length of time they're giving us to have our buildings back up to house the trucks.
They gave us an extension till January 2023.
Okay.
Well, we need to get these expensive trucks under cover.
Yes.
I feel that way.
You're just, typically, the fire board would have approved it, and then it would come to the jury for final approval. And we're just asking you to go ahead and approve it contingent on fire board approval, so they don't have to wait till the next
Right.
meeting.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, so we move it forward then.
One thing I do notice, they only putting a 4-inch concrete slab there. Them heavy trucks gonna break that 4 inches up. And I know you hadn't went to the engineer
Yeah.
yet, so he'll probably catch all that for you.
Right, and that doesn't include the actual
But this is
footings
not
for
the
the
labor.
structure, for the beams coming down.
What about the labor? Is that, this
Putting it up.
This is everything.
looks like it's just a building cost to me. They don't,
Oh, he told us this was everything.
Right,
this is labor,
Mr.
this
Butcher's
is
in there.
erected and everything.
I was at the meeting.
Right.
Okay,
6-inch
The only
slab.
thing I don't like about it, Ron, I don't like the 29 gauge metal. And when he talked that night at the meeting, he talked about that treatment of a .40. I would like a .60, but he gave some environmental reasons.
Well, can we look at what the engineer says on that, and if
That's
he
what you
wants
need.
to up it, then up
He's
it?
gonna engineer it.
Yeah.
They'll probably come up with bigger than
Yeah,
that.
they need piling grading.
They'll
Right.
probably come with 2.0.
Because it looks like you're gonna have plenty of money if you have to upgrade it. It'll
Yes, sir.
probably cost a
As long as
little
they got
Yeah, we
more.
can do that. I'd like to do what Butch says, upgrade both the treatment and the thickness of the metal.
Yeah, 26 gauge, what they normally use.
Okay,
Yeah, he wanted
all right.
29, and
Yeah, that's
I don't blame
thin.
to me, I think they ought to have 26.
I think we're pretty much in agreement.
Also, everybody's in agreement with
This will
that.
be an
Got money.
add-on.
Add on, please.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Mr. Lee Myers on the Hollow Beach ordinance.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to thank the police jury for hearing my opinion. This is in reference to the ordinance that y'all heard about last week, allowing ATVs to ride on the beach in front of the camps. A couple of things, I wasn't here last week, I had prior obligations, last meeting, but I was able to review it online, and I sort of got caught up to speed as of what happened and what was talked about. We had 3 individuals that talked in reference to amending the ordinance to allow four-wheelers and everything to be able to ride in front of the camps. No one spoke in opposition to it. I'm here to speak in opposition to it. This ordinance was put on the books for safety reasons. The reason it's in front of the camps is because that's where everybody gathers at the side of the water, along the water's edge. They gather in canopies. I'm talking mothers, children, parents, families, and this is where they go. They've been going there forever. If they drive from out of town, they park in Hollow Beach and they walk to the water's edge. If they rent in Hollow Beach, they walk to the water's edge. Whatever the cause may be, Hollow Beach, that's where the people gather. That's why this ordinance was put in place, to where people wouldn't drive these ATVs and motorized vehicles along where the people gather. It's a safety issue. I'm a property owner. I've been there on this property for 8 years, and I'm beachfront, and I've seen things that you just would not believe. And I gotta tell you, I think if this is overturned and y'all allow it, I don't think it'll last very long. First of all, the safety issue is the main reason, but there's other issues as well. From Barataria, the first road on the east end of Hollow Beach, all the way to Porpoise, which is where the T&T grocery store was, is 0.8 of a mile. We're talking about a minimal beachfront area. You are allowed to drive in front of the beach houses with a licensed vehicle. With that being said, you're able to drive with a licensed vehicle to the water's edge, not along the water's edge. And the reason that was put in is because our ancestors, they've been fishing in Hollow Beach all their life, and they don't want to lose the opportunity to continue, and they use their vehicles to haul their gear. That was the initial reason. I'm sure there's many other reasons as well, as convenience and things of that nature. The area that's dedicated to ATVs and four-wheelers or whatever these motorized vehicles may be, they actually have a spot designated for them already. And it's on the west end of Hollow Beach. And actually their location is over 2 miles, like 2.7 miles. For the likes of me, I don't understand what's so important about them extending their ability to ride where the people are, you know. I think it would be a bad decision. I think we would be going in the wrong direction. I think your predecessors got it right when they made this ordinance go through. I know it had to be a controversial, issue at that time as well, but somehow they made the right decision. So I'm here to ask you, for the safety factors that's involved, you know, when y'all get together and vote on this issue, I hope you keep the safety in mind for the kids. You know, a family gathers at the water's edge, they may have 4 or 5 children playing in the water, and it's hard enough for them to keep an eye on them children from drowning and things of that nature without having to worry about when they're out of the water. And I've seen this to where the canopy, they set up, and then the high tide will go down, and then there's more distance between the canopy and the water. So with that being said, four-wheelers would actually drive between the parents and the children in the water. It's a dangerous issue. And, you know, a lot of these people travel at high rates of speed, displaying power, doing donuts, throwing sand on the individuals that's in these canopies. So with all that being said, your consideration in keeping the ordinance the way it is would be greatly appreciated. If y'all decide to overturn it, y'all keep in mind, they didn't bring anything to the table in reference to curfews or anything like that, so the people in Hollow Beach will be overrun. I mean, this is gonna open the floodgates. They'll be hauling these vehicles in on trailers to stay in Hollow Beach, and they'll be running 24/7, you know, right by your bedroom window. And you know the old saying, you know, if you need a radio when you go to the beach, you're missing the point. Well, the people that have that philosophy and them values, where do they go after y'all take that away, if y'all vote in favor of changing the ordinance? And that's really all I wanted to say.
Thank you, sir.
Any questions, or?
No, I passed by, I had to go on that end, so I seen your little, cabins out there, your little,
My cabanas?
cabanas, and that looks good. That's nice
Thank
out
you.
there.
You know, being you brought that up, I own the Pickle Pelican, and at any given day during season, I have in between 75 and 100 people on my property, and it's beachfront. Probably 80% of them walk to the beach. I've had people come to me and say, Mr. Myers, where can we go where we don't have to worry about the vehicles passing while we at the water's edge, you know? And unfortunately, I can't answer that, you know? But keep in mind, 75 to 100 people is a lot of people. So we have a lot more people that don't ride these four-wheelers on the beach than do ride them, you know? And the four-wheelers is the culprits. I see it with my own eyes. I think side-by-sides are okay. We don't have issues with registered side-by-side property owners in Hollow Beach. The issues are not from the people that's in Hollow Beach subdivision. It's from the people that come to Hollow Beach subdivision and bring trailer fulls of these units. So with that in mind, guys, you know, I mean, it's in y'all's hands, but I think your predecessors got it right. They designated an area for the ATVs, they designated an area for the pedestrians, and then made it accessible for licensed vehicles to still be able to go to the water's edge. We lost Pelican Road with the hurricanes and the dunes being grown. Our beach is getting shorter, you know? So with traffic riding along the water's edge, there's not much room for them to ride anywhere else. Now, they did put up speed limit signs by the dunes, you know, but it's hard to keep them by the dunes. They still want to ride along the water's edge. So when y'all vote, you know, it's up to y'all, you know, but it's definitely a safety issue. I think our sheriff does a great job. He sends patrolmen out there. It just so happens when they're on one end of the beach, the action's on the other end. When they get to the other end, it doesn't move to the other end. So, you know, we just don't have enough enforcement. He doesn't have enough manpower to be able to monitor the beach like, you know, it probably can be or should be. Hopefully in the future, you know, we can come together and worked up a dialogue with the sheriff, and maybe we can get additional manpower on a regular basis for all our beaches. You know, not just Hollow Beach. We got 7 beaches here. They all need to be monitored, you know. But right now, I'm talking about Hollow Beach. So with that being said, I appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Okay, before we let Ryan speak, we got one more, Mr. Charles Norman.
So we need a bathroom break.
Yeah,
All right.
please.
I'm sorry. I'll tell you what, let's hold up just a second and give the ladies a chance to, or everybody to run to the restroom, okay? All right?
Oh, I don't need one, I'm at 3.
No, we were just saying before Ryan talks. 'cause-
Oh, before Ryan
Oh,
talks.
Now,
I thought you was ready.
I have to go after.
before he talks.
Sorry.
Danny's not in.
Bad joke.
All right. Y'all wanna come on up, please?
He's going too.
I thought y'all just said, let's take a break.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Chuck Morrow. This is Nate Maddock, Nikki Maddock. We're here on behalf of the JW Hardware that's being built in Grand Lake. I just kind of wanted to come introduce ourselves to everybody and kind of make a presence, I guess. Let you all know that we're going to be hardware, lumber, industrial supply. We've been working with Tutu on her end of the deal,
It's already done.
trying to get the suppliers and everything lined up. So these two are gonna be the faces of the store. They're every day.
Where y'all building that?
It's in Grand Lake, right next to where
Right
the
past
fireman center
school,
was.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a nice complex. Actually, the store set crew came on Monday and started putting shelves in today. They're loading product. We're looking at April 11th. I guess it's gonna be the official opening date. We're gonna do a kind of a soft opening, hopefully before that, and gonna get our feet wet.
Welcome any bid.
Yeah, but we're.
What's your square footage? What's your square footage you're building?
The main hardware building is 2,800. We've got a 3,500 square foot building behind it for lumber. And then the back building is another 2,800, and that'll be conditioned. We'll have sheetrock and all that stuff's gonna be stored inside.
Well,
So we'll try to-
I can't say enough on behalf of the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We greatly
Let's,
appreciate it.
I
because-
personally, I've lived here, in Grand Lake myself for 6 years. My wife and I, we got 6 kids. All of them go to Grand Lake, and,
You've been busy.
it's been a great place, and it's one of those things that we've always needed. And, Nate and Nikki, Nate and I actually grew up together. They're from Michigan. They moved down here to run it. Nikki had her a flower shop, and Nate's a diesel mechanic by trade, but, just, you know, good people want to do good things, and
There's nothing like getting in the middle of a project and missing a piece this big.
well, you know what's been killing us is that we're a couple weeks away from finishing our house, and all these little pieces, we've got them sitting in the store, but I can't go get them. So in the middle of the night, I'm working on my tile or plumbing or something, like, dang it.
Well, welcome to the South. I mean,
Yep.
yeah,
Appreciate y'all.
that's a big difference, from
We're excited.
Yeah, it's
We're
a-
excited.
yeah.
Yeah,
from
so-
the-
Y'all need to build a feed store there too.
That's what everybody keeps saying, that feed, that, you know, that may be something that could come in, down the line, but Nikki, she's got, like I said, you mentioned the flower shop, she's got some great ideas for garden stuff, and
I was just fixing that, so you're gonna have a garden center?
Yeah. All right.
she called, what'd you call it, the
It's a bougie hardware store.
Good,
Going that
that's good.
direction.
That's awesome.
Well, welcome.
But,
Thank y'all very
yeah,
much.
I got a couple flyers here. I guess we didn't print out enough, but just kind of leave with y'all for the record.
Sure.
And as far as future business with the parish and municipalities, Nikki's gonna be the main contact. She's
She's the brains.
So we'd love to talk with y'all, and if y'all need anything.
I live here in Creel, and I'm glad to have y'all there, instead of having to drive all the way into Lake Charles and be able to deal with somebody local, so thank y'all for
Yeah,
doing that.
well, that's it too, and like right now, particularly the lumber, I mean, everything's so sky high right now, but we're trying to get a good stock in, and if there's something that we don't have, we're definitely able to get it. I've been talking with like Ricky Thibodeau from electrical panel, this is just an instance, a meter-based combo kit, he can't find it, we got him in stock in our warehouse, so.
All right.
Good,
We can,
Good deal.
help y'all out.
Yeah.
good.
Thank y'all.
Thank you
All
all.
right,
Thank
appreciate
you.
y'all's time.
Thank you.
And them flyers,
Yeah,
take,
Yep.
Katie there.
Okay, we gotta do it, y'all. Mr. Boreal? 3 minutes?
Well, technically, I haven't been here the last 4 months, so I think we should be able to reallocate those
1 minute.
minutes that have been stopped. But if the staff needs to go to the restroom, let them go, but while they're there, they could look it up for you, Lee. Section 19-6 was the road acceptance, and it was amended on June 4th of 1990.
Already
Just in
said
case the
that.
staff was
Lee,
wondering.
what did I tell you a while ago?
Just in case they needed to hear
1990.
that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Put that on my time sheet.
Yeah, whatever.
So today what I'd like to do is just run briefly through a few issues that we've been having throughout the parish regarding infrastructure. And first and foremost, I want to thank Mr. Falk and Mr. Guidry for reaching out on the Grand Lake Pontoon Bridge issue. We've been working with DOTD to try to identify alternative options to get that back in service and allowing vehicular traffic to traverse onto and off of the island. I think the department has identified a goal of having 4 openings a day at an hour and a half each time, spread throughout the day, especially with school starting back on Monday from 6:30 to 8 in the morning, and in the afternoons from 3 to 4:30. There's going to be some issues that have to be worked out with the Coast Guard, but that request has been made. I think the department understands how important it is to address that issue. And at the same time, they've identified some LARA repair work that could possibly be conducted at the same time that we're experiencing downtimes on the pontoon bridge itself. Instead of opening it up and then shutting it down in another month or so, try to get that work done simultaneously with the current operations schedule. I think they reached out to OEP, to Mr. Laverne, Superintendent Lemons, and maybe even Mr. Manuel, as it relates to the opening schedule, did that work. And so I think that in the next day or two, you ought to be getting press releases from the department on that. Secondarily, we had questions about Cameron Ferry number 2. The big boat has been back in Cameron for some time. There are new components that staff has to train on, and apparently there were COVID issues. So there were competing interests amongst staff time between manning the temporary ferry and actually training on Cameron Ferry number 2. So they actually had trainings with staff yesterday, so those should be continuing. Still got a ways to go before they're ready to put that back into service. But last I heard, they were actually doing trainings with staff as we speak. The new ferry issue. The plans and specs were delivered to DOTD yesterday. So those entire bid packets have been completed. They are in review at the department as we speak. They have a couple of weeks to review to make sure that the plans and specs are adequate and all of the revisions that they requested were there. They anticipate up to a 90-day letting time frame. And so as it stands today, June 8th will be the closing date for bids. And after that, of course, they'll be reviewed and accepted accordingly. The scope of work does have 2 vessels still in the scope of work. The funding has been there since 2019, since the initial session, so it's not an issue of money. And as we are told, the projected date, which sometimes I'm hesitant to provide projected dates, but the first vessel should be constructed by the fall of 2024 is what is anticipated at this point. It's no secret that we have antiquated state infrastructure in the parish. We clearly have issues all over. But if you look at the DOTD Highway Priority Program, I think from a jury's perspective to a staff's perspective, y'all have done a very good job of communicating to me what your priorities are, which allow me to communicate those priorities to the department. And so if you look at this year's fiscal plan, You're gonna see $1 million for the Mermentau River Bridge. The Ellender and Kelso Bayou Bridges have $300,000 in repair. The Grand Chenier and Superior Bridges, Mermentau River Bridge and the Superior Bridge, another $900,000 of repair. Those are all in schedule for this year. If you look to the design phase, you have $11 million to replace the Superior Bridge, the Superior Canal Bridge. We've had some weight load issues with getting items onto Grand Chenier, especially at Rockefeller, with their construction projects. That is a replacement project. There's also $6 million for the Kelso Bayou Rehab Project in the Hackberry area. And then finally, for the Grand Lake Pontoon Bridge for the Intercoastal Waterway, $10 million for movable bridge rehab, which is right now, it's still in feasibility and scoping. We're gonna work it through that process, stay on the department to make sure that those priorities are being moved along as best we can. Any questions on those items before?
No, but just that, when you think them captains might be trained enough to get this big ferry?
I have no idea. I won't even kid to pretend to know. The department was hesitant to even give a timeline. And so, I will work with the district administrator to make sure that it's as quickly as possible. I mean, I think they understand the concern. I think we've been fortunate enough to have the operation that we've had, the standby to the 60-year-old
Yeah.
ferry. But still, we're gonna continue to apply pressure to see if we can get that accomplished as quickly as possible.
Maybe make a suggestion when they build a new ferry, that they hire people as they build it to learn about it, to where they can, when they put it in the water, they can actually operate it.
No, that's true. That's what we're doing the plan out there, commissioning.
That's
so
what
you learn
everybody
how you do.
does.
What about rent a captain? Can we rent a captain?
Rent a captain.
Huh?
That's the
Temporary?
thing,
While they train?
qualified captains for that thing.
Right. And so they have people on staff now, but again, what they ran into this last month was trying to set aside staff time to train on the repaired vessel versus actually operating the temporary ferry. So it was a competing interest on priority. So there is no timeline right now that I can provide, but we'll, as soon as I hear, I will pass it on to staff and they can get that to you.
Thank you, Ron.
Grant funding wise, we like to discuss funds from time to time. I think you all were pleased to hear about the Southwest Coastal Study, $125 million. That was a pleasant surprise for our area, as was the Water Sector Commission, $15 million in 100% grant funds coming to the parish to consolidate lines. I think that was pretty important. The North Cameron EOC, that was funded through capital outlay last session, partially funded through cash. That will be eligible to move forward this year in session, of which we are told there'll be a surplus. And a portion of the surplus is going to be moved into coastal projects per the Constitution. The CPRA has asked that I carry the CPRA annual plan, which is the construction budget for this fiscal year, which is over $1 billion. So I was certainly honored to have someone from the Chenier Plain be requested to carry a $1 billion piece of legislation for the CPRA. I think that was good to note. And of course, in surplus money, we're still going to remain, in communication with staff and with your representatives, just to make sure that any funds that are coming to the Southwest, they stay in the budget to come to the Southwest. I think it's safe to say everyone has been pleased with the performance of the breakwater projects. We certainly want to continue that in any way we can, whether it's $1 million or $15 million. Whatever it is, let's continue that effort. And with that, I'll entertain any other questions.
I just
I
got.
think that was 7 minutes.
One comment. I want to thank you for jumping on that bridge project, for the people of Grand Lake. It really means a lot. I mean, and nobody has to tell you that the gas is outrageous now, and to go bring your kids around, just that hour and a half in the morning, and that time in the afternoon is gonna save people a lot of money, just people that bring their kids to school. Really
I think it
appreciate
starts with the request, with highlighting the need, and I think the department heard it, and so, I appreciate that, but I think we'll continue to make sure that access is provided.
Thank you.
Thank you for the Cameron Ferry too, Ron.
Yeah, and, the Highway 27, Hackberry, is there any idea when that project could start? I mean,
So the elevation project has to be included in the highway priority program. We have made that request for 7 years now,
yeah,
and we have not made any headway. And so, what I'm actually looking at doing is trying to set aside, ARPA dollars, the American Recovery Act dollars, the COVID money, a portion of that to go to road infrastructure throughout the state. Because we do feel that there's some priorities that are falling through the cracks. And regardless of what the reasoning is behind that, there are some projects that are vitally important, especially on evacuation routes, that are not getting the attention that we feel that is warranted from a local perspective. So
Yeah, that's.
we're gonna
that's
continue
important.
pushing on that one.
But they using that money, for everything.
Correct.
I mean, they buying cops and everything through, you hear on the news, with that same money.
Support money is in there.
Yeah.
There's a
So-
lot of different,
It's really important to get that.
ancillary needs that are being met with
Yeah.
road and bridge funds.
well, at least there's dedicated money now, where there wasn't before.
It's a start.
It's a start.
Long way to
It is a start. Well, thank you for everything, Ryan. Anybody got anything for Ryan?
The staff doesn't have any questions? The staff doesn't need anything? Any other ordinances y'all need to know while I'm up here?
Thanks, Ryan.
We do appreciate you, Ryan. Thank you, man.
Couldn't even get
Need to review agenda, please?
Maybe the ordinance that they were talking about adjusting for the four-wheelers there, is it on here?
No, sir, that will be next month.
Next month?
It's out for public comment right now.
Okay. Only question I got is on 24. And I wonder why it was not recommended. I wanted to know what the issue was.
Randy did not recommend that one because him and Miss
Had it
Steve
too
both,
easy.
that should have been caught when the original cost analysis was done. It is lights in the parking lot. And it was not caught. So they're saying we should not have to pay for this because it was in plain sight and was not caught.
So, I don't understand. So he's asking us to refuse it? And
Well, asking us basically to see if FEMA's gonna pay for it. If they're not, then
is that,
That's what it should
I
be.
wanted to hear that, I wanted him to
I thought
explain
Randy
it.
was gonna be in here. He had talked to, y'all this morning.
While we
You
try to get in
texting,
touch
Kate?
with Randy.
Let him in.
Oh, go ahead, Derek.
No, I was just gonna provide it, yeah.
Derek is our architect, if you guys remember.
Derek Porsche with Porsche May Architects. I think it's the first time actually addressing y'all formally, so thank you for your time. I can speak on its behalf and try to provide some clarifications if that's okay. So this is a site light, it's a site lit fixture, so the fixture was blown off a pole. It is FEMA reimbursable. It was not caught, it's an omission, not an error, just to clarify that it should have been in the original OMAG, that is correct, which is our damage assessment, right, our probable cost that we send you. Having said that, by not including it, FEMA will not reimburse you. It needs to be included for FEMA reimbursement. We did analyze the costs. We, pushed back as far as we could, and it is accurate to what the cost should be. Contractors, I think, making less than $500. It's about really, the conversation's about, is FEMA gonna be aware that you have damaged, hurricane-related damage that needs to be refunded at a later date? The light, it is gonna be something that I think the library will miss for the parking security. That's just my opinion. By not including it, it won't get fixed. Any questions on kind of how that?
So I guess I'm asking this again, if I refuse this, are we gonna try to include it, or is?
Ms.
Should I-
Dee's here to speak on behalf of the library.
Dee Dee's back there. Come on up, Dee Dee.
What's the library wanna do?
It's not an additional cost. I just want to be clear. It's not a change order for additional non-refundable hurricane items. It's something that was picked up and should have been originally included in the original scope of work. You know, if you look at the odds, statistically speaking, it's a small portion for the overall project, so we are still proud of ourselves for, you know, catching all the hurricane damage related items. It was a first project that we released. Since then, we have put in place very beneficial review sessions. We have bi-weekly calls with the jury, and we go through these projects thoroughly. So we do fight very hard to prevent these things from not getting included, but it does happen.
So you saying there's no extra cost?
I'm saying that it's the same as all the other hurricane repair related items that we have.
I mean, to add this light right now, there's no additional cost?
There's no additional cost that won't be refunded, but there is a cost difference in that the scope has increased.
Yeah, $7,635.
So you're saying that will be refunded?
By FEMA, that is correct.
He's saying that it's.
Okay.
And Derek, this was missing from the original scope of work, so they did not bid on this work?
Correct, correct. They are, yeah, that's
Two
right.
lights for $7,600.
I think that's a lot of money.
Supposedly,
And I haven't seen a FEMA PW say FEMA's gonna pay for this yet. So I think Thomas
The
knows.
library want the lights or not?
I haven't talked to board members yet. I was just aware of this yesterday.
Okay.
We're looking at, can I put a Jeff Davis light at the front pole? I mean,
It's a
that's
simple.
almost $8,000. That's a lot of money.
And the
To
pole's
me,
there,
it's
the
a
wire's
simple
there.
thing.
The
If the
wire
library
and the
wants
pole is there.
the light,
We think this is like a second PW, I mean, the second change order that should have been caught. And that's aggravating. I mean, we hired
yeah,
people
why
that
are we
were
on
supposed to
change
know
order
this.
10?
I don't like change orders.
No,
Me either.
change order 10 already.
Yeah, this should have been caught, and Randy kind of feels the same way. This should have been caught. Somebody needs to start being responsible for what they're not catching.
Well, I think the architect and engineer need to be responsible, and also the library needs to be a heads up on these types of things.
We listed that on, Julie caught that on the items that she sent in that were missing, that needed to be replaced for the library. So somehow or another, this list,
Never got to the engineer.
I think it got put to the right people, but they might have thought it was some other lighting or something, I don't know. But she was very diligent in what she listed. I mean, everything in the shed, everything, but she listed those lights, and somehow or another, this got overlooked.
Well,
All I'm saying is if the library wants these lights out there, they need to, the library needs to tell us that. Because it may cost you more if you say you don't want them now and put them later.
Well, I got on my list to talk to Katie about it today, when y'all get finished.
And if it had cost us any more, we need to go ahead and get it done.
Yeah.
It's my
Well,
opinion.
it's gonna cost us.
$7,600.
Well, we have
Yeah.
a chance to maybe recoup
FEMA
that.
get it back.
Well, the guy's saying that
Yeah.
it's something that's refundable by
But-
FEMA.
But lighting is important in front of all public buildings. Darkness encourages criminal activity. We need to have lights around those buildings, so
Oh, yeah.
somehow or another, we gotta get this done.
But I have a telephone pole out in front, I can put a Jeff Davis light on.
But did we have lights before? And they were Jeff Davis lights?
No, they were not Jeff Davis lights.
Okay.
So would you like us to see if a security light would provide enough lighting?
That's kind of what I was gonna talk to you.
You want the flow?
I don't
Can we
like-
just table it and we'll get Jeff Davis out there to take a look at it?
I have two
In the
poles that
meantime,
front and back.
DD, I would recommend that the library, on all these change orders that comes to the parish that deals with the library, I mean, these change orders, when I look at a change order I almost automatically understand that the library wants these change orders done.
So what I'm saying is you need to either support the change orders or identify them that you're not supporting them, so that we as the jury know that. We don't wanna say it's important and the library says, no, we're gonna do it another way. But we need to know that. You know, I mean, that's just my opinion.
Well, I'm with Sonny, if it's around a public building, we need our lighting.
We need a proper lighting.
Change orders 8 and 9 were discussed at the library board meeting and pushed forward. It was just change order 10 that wasn't pushed forward. Like I said, this is a change order that is identifying a scope of work that was not bid on. So it's not that the cost just increased for no reason and we're asking for more money. It is work that was not originally bid on, and this is what it's gonna cost to fix it. And
Well, I suggest
we can table it and let the library board discuss it if you wanna fix it through this contract, or if you wanna just get the security lights, you can get security lights put out there. If you wanna
But be sure you know that you're gonna have the proper amount of lighting that you need.
Right.
And come to the jury and say, this is what we need.
Okay, I'm with Katie.
Security lights.
Table it.
Table it, Katie.
Okay.
One question with the gentleman here. If we table it, is there any way for you can get us an answer by next month?
By next month.
If it's gonna be, like
it's-
FEMA's gonna adopt it.
It's gonna be very hard pressed to get the contractor at the speed at which we're moving with the schedule to, he's gotta order it with these supply lines. I'm not gonna look at dates, but I'm gonna be honest, it's hard to get material. You heard the hardware store talk about it. No guarantees. But I will say that light fixture is extremely expensive. We did not pick that light fixture, but FEMA's very literal about replacing in kind.
Right.
There are other options, but then you cross the paths of, is the wiring accurate? Where does the line stop? And FEMA is not just gonna say, oh, you did a good thing, let me write. It's gotta be model number specific.
Let's table,
Okay.
That's just how
let's just table this, because we're not gonna settle it right
I
here.
think what he's asking you is will you have an answer that FEMA's gonna pay for it by next month?
I apologize. I misunderstood your question. I thought it was about the general contractor. We would have to get with the grants management, HGA, team which we are working with, and find that out. We're not seeing FEMA give approvals, which is called a DDD, is when they sign off on what they approve, and then we look at ours and we figure out what they've signed off on. We haven't gotten any from FEMA in Cameron Parish as of now.
That's always a first.
And that's not uncommon for other parishes. It's not just here. I'm just speaking strictly about Cameron or other districts or authorities. So, but I can't speak on timeframes for FEMA responses.
We'll wait on whatever the
Okay.
library comes up.
Thank you.
My concern is we keep facing change orders, and this is just me. We keep facing change orders, and I want this library open. They said it was gonna be open in January, then it moved to February, then it's moving to April, and then it's moving to, we don't know when. We need to service our parish, and I'm tired of playing with change orders.
I don't blame you, dude.
I agree.
Get it
I don't
done,
blame
Dee
you.
Dee. Do what you gotta do.
Get with Katie, like I said, whatever y'all, we'll
But
table
Dee, I
it.
don't think this light's gonna stop us from opening with it.
The light should, we could do a substantial.
Yeah,
Exactly.
our substantial completion, and I can speak on any dates if we need to. But that light should not, but
Hinder the opening. We can always come back and put it back
occupancy can be
on.
granted, but I would advise a closer look, and I will be looking into that personally, but I would advise looking at it. Site lighting is important
Okay.
at a public liability, and I can't speak on that either. Anything else?
No, that's all, thank you. Thank
That ain't
you.
the idea.
Anything else, anybody? Anybody have anything else?
Review the,
But before, have y'all reviewed your, everybody?
Hold on, it's for the sign and for Grand Chenier and for, Johnson.
The change orders on 20 and 22 to be the signs for Johnson Bayou and Grand Chenier. They're a little expensive, and they weren't bid in the project.
Yeah, we
Monumental
do.
signs?
Yes.
We can reject and rebid on the monumental signs. That was an owner-requested change, so we didn't we didn't advocate a change in what signage was there. That was a request that we were to follow through with changing the signage. And it's LED lit, it's a more expensive sign, but we can reject it and rebid it. It doesn't, it's really up to Ms. Dede.
Our library board had voted to replace the signs. That was before we knew that we were asked to combine everything into what they were bidding. So it would be one capture cost for FEMA. If I'm understanding, everything needed to be bid together or be constructed together. So the signs that we had wanted were a little cheaper than these. I think it's a lot of money, but,
I agree with that.
I think we need to go back to the board. I mean, we're talking almost $20,000.
I think that that's exactly what has to happen, because right now, all we're doing is going back and forth, and this is not getting anything accomplished. To me, the answer to your question is, go back to the board with all this. Whatever you wanna call it, because,
What the library board wants to do.
it seems like every time we look at another page, it's another discrepancy.
Well, the library board did approve these two signs at their last meeting.
Did they?
But not this amount is what you told me, right?
We had voted the signs before they bid the buildings out. We were gonna purchase the signs and they were $35,000.
And it was one price though, correct?
One price,
Sign.
$35,000 per
Right,
sign.
and so the reason why I got added into the project is because you only have one price, FEMA doesn't pay for it. So it was either pay $30,000 out of the library's general fund money to replace the sign, or include it in the project, and with it being bid out, FEMA will pay the 90% of this $50,000 to replace the sign. So that's why it got included in there, and the last board meeting, y'all did approve the monument signs, the change orders. So I don't think we can, I mean, if you want to send it back to the board to reconsider it, we can, but that's why it was included in the project. So
This is the problem with
Go with
this.
it.
We're
Yeah, the
going
board
back and
approved it,
forth.
let's roll. I
The
mean,
board
we follow
approved
the
it,
board.
both the
We're
signs.
going back and forth, and nobody has an answer. So
Well,
to
one
me,
question- Okay, one question I got, is FEMA gonna pay for it now? We're gonna pay 10% of that $40,000.
Yes.
Well, that's a lot cheaper than us paying.
Paying $30,000
$30,000
per
so
sign, yes.
we way better off letting them do it now.
Right.
That's why it was done this way.
Yeah, okay.
So it is more expensive than the one quote, but it's
But we're
gonna
only
cost you
paying
less than
10%.
one. We're only paying
Of
10%.
that, yeah, so, yeah, that's what.
And this includes installation and electrical
Roll with it.
Oh,
upgrades.
Wendy's raising her
I'm
hand.
on that board, we approved that,
Okay,
Katie was there.
okay. All right, well, let's roll with it.
All right, so we're just gonna table 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just the lighting,
Yeah.
and let them decide if they wanna use flood security lights.
Change
or
it.
not.
I'll change it to 10, yeah.
Okay, so I have a question about a particular one, or I have a few agenda items for us to discuss.
Or they- yeah.
So, agenda item 12 is President Authority to sign CA for the dispatchers. We had a meeting with the sheriff a few weeks ago. A few of our drawers were in attendance, and we discussed the cost for negotiating a new service agreement with the sheriff. So right now, we have a 911 communication district. Their revenue source is taxes paid on cell phones and internet fees. It's about $140,000 a year is what they collect. That is our only revenue source. They provide the 911 services for the entire parish. So what they do is they have paid the sheriff's office to provide the dispatching services to provide 911 for the parish. A few of the fire districts, they also use the sheriff's office dispatchers for fires. So everyone's on this one system, and the sheriff provides the service and they bill us. That CEA has expired and it's time to execute a new one. So what we are asking for your consideration today is President Authority to execute this CEA, and we will turn around and bill the ambulance districts, fire districts, and the sheriff has agreed to absorb any cost over, right now it was $115,000. What he is paying out is around $150,000, but he has agreed to absorb any cost over the, 115,000 that the fire districts are not able to pay. We're going to bill the ambulance districts, double their billing, and they've agreed to it
That's good.
verbally.
Yeah,
So-
Some of the 911 district, what they're not able to pay.
Correct.
Oh, that's all good?
Yes, are there any of the drawers here that were in, do y'all wanna make a comment about it?
If everybody agrees on that,
Yeah, because I'd rather have one person doing all that dispatching than have 4 or 5 around the parish to call, you know.
How about the courthouse security service?
Okay, so that's the next agenda item. Right now, what, I don't really think it's a law, but it is encouraged to provide security at our courthouse building. These are the 2 deputies that sit out at the main doors, and they do the metal detectors. They do roving patrol throughout the building. This is not court security. When they have criminal court, there are a separate set of deputies that go into court, and we pay for that through criminal court. This is specifically security at the door. The sheriff has been providing 2 patrol officers there 5 days a week. That cost has also, that CEA, we didn't have a CEA, we're trying to execute one. That cost is about $140,000 a year. That is something that can be paid through the courthouse and jail maintenance fund. It wouldn't come out of the general fund, it would come out of courthouse and jail maintenance fund, but it is $140,000 a year for 2 full-time deputies to sit there Monday through Friday, 8 to 4.
that's salary, benefits, and everything?
It's everything.
So
Now, we
who-
looked at some other options. Maybe, do we need 2 full-time deputies? You could maybe look at using just private security company. They pay some other court houses throughout the state. They hire a private security firm to provide security, and it's about $17, $18 an hour is what they charge. But if you want to keep your local deputies providing security, it would cost us $140,000 a year.
I think we ought to do that. We ought to keep our local deputies there. I think that, did anybody ask anybody at the courthouse about the security?
I did, I called the
needs?
judge and I called the clerk of court both. They were unable to be here today. The clerk of court said the security's nice, but that sure is a lot of money, and maybe we can just use some staff members to provide the security. The judge was supposed to call a few of you. I think she wants the full-time deputies. So, that's, and I asked them both to call you and express any concerns directly to you. So if they
Nobody.
haven't called you,
Were they willing to
Maybe-
pay any of this, help pay any of this?
Maybe the courthouse.
The courthouse.
Maybe that, the next question is can the courthouse fund, afford this?
that, yes, they have been able to afford it.
All right, well, that, kind of a no-brainer to me.
Isn't it going up?
Courthouse and jail maintenance fund.
It's 140, it'd be 140,000?
They had been, the first time this was placed on consideration for the jury, it was around 80,000. And that was about 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And so every year, you know, with salary and benefit cost increase, and it's up to about that $140,000 range now.
And I was on the call, I was on that, and one of the questions I had was, how many incidents did we have? And Chris said they had quite a few incidents where, in the courtroom, where they needed these 2 guys, so,
Right.
I mean, help. But
If the money's in there, as far as me, I'm fine with it, if the money's in the courthouse during the budget.
Jeremy, the raise was, the biggest raise from 120-some thousand to 140,000, that was given in 2020, in July of 2020. I've been absorbing the cost up to now because it hadn't been approved, so we wanted to absorb the cost till it got approved by y'all. That, the same applied with the school board, we had to get approval from the school board.
So that's agenda item. Also have this, what I gave you guys, if you kind of want to go through it, is just a little brief project update. Where we are with insurance versus PW obligations per building. We are looking at the East Annex, West Annex, courthouse and jail. The construction documents for bidding that out have been developed. They're going through the approval process now with our facility maintenance person. Once he approves it, we are gonna come to the jury and ask for authority to bid. We are targeting April 2022. We want to bid those 4 buildings as one contract, so we can get a more competitive price. And where we are with insurance so far, 44,000 East Annex, 98,000 West Annex, 986,000 courthouse, and 152,000 jail. Now, the caveat for that courthouse price though is, we paid a lot of mitigation invoices out of those funds already. That's when they had the full-time generator powering the airflow through the building to get the AC fixed. So you really don't have a lot of insurance money right now to fix that building. PW obligations so far, we did get the West Annex obligated already at 90,000, and the jail is at 130,000. We are working with FEMA to try to get the other 2 PWs funded. The rest of our building support office has already been fixed by one of our facility maintenance guys. The LSU Ag office has been fixed by our facility maintenance guy. Health unit, we received $669,000, and we have $1 million FEMA PW obligated. We are trying to get the bid documents together to bid to fix that. We also have a hazard mitigation grant that we applied for to elevate it. So looks like timing wise, we might fix it and then it'll get elevated the next year. That's how slow our hazard mitigation funds are, but right now that's the plan that we're gonna present to you guys. But we do not have any construction documents yet or cost estimates to repair it. We'll bring that to you most likely in May.
That's on what building?
The health unit, right here, that flooded. The old DA building, we did not replace it, we tore it down, and you actually received $51,000. And then the old and permit building that was in Hackberry that the sheriff's office was using as an investigator's office or substation, we did not replace it, and we had received some federal funds to replace it, $86,000. And so what we intend to do with that is obligate those funds to an alternate project. Maintenance barns, we had a very good meeting with some of our jurymen about the Grand Lake Maintenance Barn and with the sheriff. We issued a notice to proceed to develop the construction documents and bid documents for that building. The sheriff has expressed interest in sharing the building with us, 2 bays, and he's committed to paying for the bay, each bay that he uses. So if we have a 4-bay building, he's gonna pay for the 2 bays and we're gonna pay for 2 bays. Now FEMA is going to obligate, I think it's going through a FEMA obligation right now. I didn't get very far, but we will be responsible for the 10% cost. And then from that 10%, we'll split it evenly with the sheriff's office. Camera maintenance barn and Grand Chenier maintenance barn. Our facility maintenance person brought a few people out there to take a look at it to see what they thought it would cost just to rescan it. Camera maintenance barn is going to be too large of a project to fix, so that's something that we're going to go ahead and have to get our architects to start developing the bid packets to fix. But the Grand Chenier maintenance barn is something that we feel like we may be able to bid out in-house, get 3 quotes and fix it. So that's what we're doing right now to see if we can get some competitive bids. It's just replacing some of the tin. Johnson Bayou, Holly Beach, and Hackberry, they're all gonna be fixed with our facility maintenance people, and Klondike. Moving on to fire stations, our Murray Fire Station. Again, we are still waiting on FEMA to wrap up their damage assessment. They did come and inspect it about a month ago. They still have not provided a scope of work for us to approve, but that's what we're waiting on to see what our FEMA obligation is gonna be for that building.
So you got $1.9 million to fix that?
That's what the bid amount was.
That's the bid amount, and insurance only paid us $366,000?
Yes,
What's the deal with that?
exactly.
That's why.
So
we
we're waiting
have-
on that FEMA PW to get obligated before we move forward with that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, why ain't the insurance, how much insurance we had on there?
That's why we also have on the agenda to file litigation.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be
We
replacement, I
submitted
mean.
the bid documents to them and it's not moving
Alright.
and so it's one of the buildings that litigation's gonna be filed. But in the interim, we'll have to try to use PW funds to fix it. Grantineer Fire Station, we plan to ask for authority to bid in April. It's gonna be a package deal as well. Cameron and Grantineer Fire Stations will be bid together. We will come in April with authority to bid with some hard cost estimates. Oak Grove Fire Station, it looks like the last time I talked to, Mr. Tim, and he's not here today. They're looking at not replacing the Oak Grove Fire Station. They already, with the consolidation of the fire district, they were already, willing to eliminate the Camille and Ridgecrest substations. And they're gonna eliminate the Oak Grove one as well, and instead build one new garage at the Cameron Rec area to service the same mile radius. And they're gonna also add one in Little Chenier to service the end of Little Chenier Road, who currently was not being serviced at all. So that's what they decided to do with theirs. Creel Fire Station, we did get a bid just to rescan it. The building's still there, if you've driven by there. A bid came in just to rescan it at $51,300. So that's something we're gonna provide to the fire board to see if they want to just use some insurance funds and rescan it, and they could start using it immediately. That's something that they're gonna have to consider at their next board meeting. Big Lake Fire Station, you just got an update from the sheriff on that. They're gonna proceed with replacing that one, $73,200, and they had received $109,000 of insurance funds. Grand Lake Fire Station, that was also what we met with the sheriff about. We issued a notice to proceed for construction documents for in February. So in a few months, we'll have some schematic design and construction documents to be reviewed by our facility maintenance person and recommended for approval, authority to bid.
Is this the combination between
Yes,
the
sir.
dispatch and fire, building?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Fire station,
all that's gonna be
storage,
included.
and the top will have an office for the fire chief and a meeting room and a break room, and then the rest of the space will be utilized for the dispatchers. And the dispatchers will be relocated and housed there full-time, so they're not having to evacuate with every storm.
Katie,
Yes, sir.
before you go on, well, you go and finish, and I'll ask you afterwards.
Okay, multipurpose buildings, Cameron Multipurpose Building is, under construction right now. It was bid at $646,000. We did receive $288,000 in insurance money. Right now, the federal PW obligation is $3,300. That we'll have the chance to version that now that we have our construction in progress schedule. We can provide to FEMA and see if they'll provide us a higher allocation. We also will be able to apply for litigation on that building, since our replacement cost is double of what our insurance cost we've received. The Grand Lake multipurpose building, that's something that we had demolished, and we are renaming it the North Cameron EOC. That's one of the capital outlay projects that Representative Boyock just told you about. He's gonna ask for an allocation. We do have cash, and you also have on your agenda authority to sign a contract with our architect to design the building, which that's Porsche and May. And so you'll sign that today, and they'll start providing the schematic design and come back to you and present it to you. But that is our North Cameron EOC, that when it's not being utilized as an EOC, will be available to the community for free to use for any showers and community events.
It's gonna be headed up through the EOC?
The EOC is going to have a spot in the back part of it, like a full-time office spot. And the front part is going to be designed for use as a multi-purpose building. Now, in the event of an evacuation being called, we will turn the multi-purpose building into partitions and set up all of our offices. So instead of all of our government offices having to relocate to Jennings, we will locate there. But while we're
I
not
guess
in an
the-
emergency state, we'll,
Maybe answer the question this way. So when you have a building built and a function, somebody wanting to rent the building or whatever, it's gonna go through EOC or?
it'll go through the parish and it will not come at any cost. It will be free to the community. They will not have to rent it. They will,
Well, how can you do that when all other facilities have to rent?
because it's being constructed with capital outlay funds, you cannot generate a revenue off of this building.
And some of those are tax-based.
Katie,
so-
can we charge to clean it? How does that work?
Yeah,
You know, Butters Gilman can't make money.
so, now we can charge, Miss Mary asked if we could charge them to clean it. Yes, that's something that we could do, charge them to
Basically,
clean
that's
it.
what we do,
But-
the fees are basically to clean it.
And
That's
that'll
always kinda
be
been that way.
managed in our office.
Okay, I was just trying to understand who was gonna manage that, whether it's gonna be the parish, y'all gonna do that, or the?
It'll be the
EOC?
parish.
Okay.
But it is named the EOC because its main function is going to be utilization in an evacuation or a state of emergency. But when it's empty, we can use it for whatever purpose we need it for. So it will be the nicest EOC in the state.
Danny, you have nothing to do with it.
And
What
Danny,
did
you
the
ain't going
hardware
nowhere.
The hardware store say they have a bougie hardware store, and we'll have a bougie.
We're gonna have a
multi-purpose
bougie one.
Get it going, girl.
Okay, last thing, parks and boat launches, Big Lake Pier is under construction. It's going to be, substantially complete.
We don't
We
have a
already
date.
accepted that, or
Mm-mm,
maybe
we don't
next
have a
month. Jetty Pier, we still are just, waiting for some FEMA guidance. We don't have it prioritized right now. We're trying to get all of our fire stations pushed through, but we were going to wait to see what FEMA was gonna allow us to do before we brought it to you guys. Because it's in a V zone, there's, we're not really sure if we can even get federal funds to fix it because of where it's located in the floodplain. So we just pushed that to the back burner for now, and we'll come back to you guys. hopefully in a few months. With an
I had one thing on the boat, I see the boat launch is complete in Grand Lake, and I appreciate all the work, whoever done it, you is in charge of it or whatever. But, I had one request, we had a issue at that boat launch, and I don't know if the jury needs to take action on it, or if it's just something we can change in the, people leaving their boats tied up at the dock.
Okay.
That needs not to be there. And I don't know if we have to go through legal to figure it out or how we need to do it, but there is people leaving their boats unattended, tied to the dock, and that's
Still?
well, it was an issue back then. We don't want it to continue because I think it's a safety hazard, for one thing.
Well, just we could put some signs there for sure.
Yeah, if we put some signs and
Can't leave a
then,
boat unattended.
Sheriff, you can enforce it, you can
How long
write
does it stay
tickets or
there, Lee?
something if we have a sign saying no
If
parking.
it's,
How long do they leave it?
see,
Oh,
John
all
put
right.
it as a trespass.
So we told
It's, if you use it in that capacity, I mean, they can use it, they could probably tie up temporarily to unload and unload. But being there tied up and abandoning the vehicle, like Lee says, that would actually leave your property on, that's leaving your property on parish property. Just like leaving your car on parish property, that'd be kind of a form of trespass.
I just wanna have some, if we put a signage out there, I always worry about having some teeth to it. So that the sheriff can say, hey, can't do that,
Right.
you know.
No unattended boats or something like that.
Yeah, we need to put something, because we don't need boats being left at the dock, at the boat launch tied up, my opinion.
Real quick while we on boats. Lowry has been calling, they shut down the commercial boat ramp, and they have no way to put the boats in, the fishermen and stuff. So they wanting a boat ramp, or, I thought maybe about calling the old lady, see if we can, lease that property from her and repair the boat ramp or something, you know, might be a lot cheaper than trying to build one and get property, you know.
Neither
Anyway,
one of
I'm
those
gonna
boat
check on
launches
that.
are operating anymore?
Huh?
They shut them both down?
No, but the
Parcel of,
the one at Lowry, at the park is too steep when they fill it up with crad and stuff, they said to get it out, get it.
okay,
But, they usually go on the end, and she shut hers down.
at Gary's place?
Isn't it scary?
Maybe if somebody would go over there and offer her, or see what she would take for a lease and.
That's what I'm saying, lease
Yeah.
it, and I talked to Jeffrey said he could fix it for about 20,000. But I gotta get with her first to make sure.
Yeah. That would be good for her
Tom,
too.
his son
Katie.
bought part
Huh?
of that. Tommy, used to work for us. His son bought part of that. He don't have a launch.
Who's that?
Tommy that used to work for the parish in Klondike.
It's not in Lowry. This is in Lowry.
I know, but he bought part of Gary's land.
Yeah, but he ain't got the, but she kept that part, that's how
Okay,
she
she
made her
kept
money,
that part, okay.
you know, but, yeah, shut it down. But anyway.
There's no money.
see
Katie,
what-
while we're on boat launches, Cameron boat launch, when can we try to use that? And, didn't we talk
So,
about that, trying to hurry up and use that?
I did, I put in a request to Venture Global to see what their anticipated construction completion date was. And they expect June to be their construction completion date. And then they'll start building out the interior of the market and the restaurant. So I did put in a request to them to see if they would go ahead and turn over the boat launch to the parish so we could open it. And so it's under consideration right now at Venture Global. All the other boat launches been fixed by facility maintenance already, Grand Chenier, the ferry, Grand Lake, Johnson Bayou Causeway, and the Hackberry Levee launch. Recreation centers, Cameron Recreation is under a rebid right now. They had received 1.1 million in insurance. They have a $35,000 FEMA obligation. And we're trying to get that increased once the bids are accepted. So that's where Cameron's at. We will come to you in about 2 months and ask for either an acceptance or rejection of the bids based off of what the Cameron Recreation Board does. The Grand Lake Recreation Center, I wish I had a better update. Again, we are waiting on FEMA to make a determination. We would really like for FEMA to deem it a substantially damaged facility and give us authority to build a brand new one, as long as we stay within the same footprint. It's going through the review, repair versus replacement review right now. I don't have an update, but if it does come back to where we can replace it, we will start the schematic design on the new one. And if FEMA says no, that you can't replace it, you're just gonna repair what's there, then we're ready to start the bidding the repairs. So,
Oh, Lord. We need to talk about that when it gets to that point,
yes.
because that's an old building.
You might have enough room in that new
Put a
UOC
bank-
building over
There
there.
ain't no building, it's a house.
You can put
Yeah,
you
it's
can put
an old
lipstick
house.
on the outside, but above you got an old house inside.
They asked for, and Derek's here, Derek, what's that review called that they asked for?
It's a,
She's pretty strong.
sorry.
Yeah, she made it through.
It's a CBC SSS, yes, full of acronym. Consensus-based codes, specifications, standards, and there's another S in there. That is a review that we are tasked, FEMA requires it at every FEMA obligated building, flat out. They will reimburse the cost to perform that action, to get that done. Before we can perform that, that's the FEMA, the DDD, which is, damage, dimensions, and discrepancies. That being said, they need to perform that, then we would then perform the CBC SSS. Kind of how that works. Any questions on, I know that's a lot.
I know.
Now, when you don't understand something, you can't ask a question about it.
Pretty much FEMA
You got too many S's in that.
FEMA needs
We
to
don't like
acknowledge
the
what
acronyms.
they're gonna accept. When
Yeah.
FEMA acknowledges what they're willing to accept, we then give a proposal to see where the delta, like how far apart are we, right? If we're close, it's a couple hours, and we perform that action, we then combine that, and then everybody agrees prior to expending any kind of funds, because we want as much guarantee as we can get. That's the basic.
Okay, thank you.
That's where Grand Lake is. Creole, their board is waiting on any FEMA obligations they can get. They aren't replacing the multipurpose building that was demolished, but they're looking at doing something with the pavilion, maybe a splash pad, but they're waiting on some FEMA funds before they make any decisions. Grand Chenier, Johnson Bayou, and Hackberry are handling it in-house. they're bidding out their own things, and so I don't really have an update for you there, but Hackberry at first wasn't going to use FEMA funds. I talked to Mr. Dwayne a few weeks ago, and he's thinking that he might want to try and apply for FEMA funds, even though I told him it's too late, but we're definitely gonna submit it and ask for it to be included in our damage inventory. But that's where we are with the other recreation centers. And then libraries, Hackberry broke ground last week on their brand new library. The old library, they have talked with the sheriff and they've agreed to donate it to the sheriff, and the sheriff is gonna fix it and turn it into a substation, a full-time substation. So that's what's gonna happen with the Hackberry one. And then Grand Chenier, Johnson Bayou, Grand Lake are all under construction. Substantially complete is going to be in the next 2 months. And then Cameron and Lowry are the only two libraries left that they haven't started replacing or repairing, and they anticipate issuing a notice to proceed to do the schematic design and construction documents within the next month. And that is all of our parish buildings.
Okay, I gotta go back to the Cameron Bourne. A lot of people been asking about it. Is it gonna be ready for the livestock show in January?
Yes, and that's kind of why we, our facility maintenance person, Randy Thomas, is actually taking point on that project. He went out there to look to see if it was possible for us to just fix the pavilion part first and bid that out, and then worry about fixing the barn separately. And that's something that he brought someone out there to provide a quote of what it would cost just to reskin it. And so it depends on what that amount comes in at. We are limited to about $250,000 on what we can do without bidding it. So it's gonna be close with the price of metal. So we're waiting on that quote to see if we could just fix the pavilion part, if we're gonna have to bid it all out together. But we are prioritizing the pavilion before the barn garage part.
Okay.
Maybe bid it out separately.
So the answer is you're gonna
Yes, sir.
hopefully plan.
The plan is that it's ready for livestock show, and the Cameron multipurpose building will be ready for Fair Festival. That's the plan.
Good, thank you.
Good deal.
Anything else? Number 15, we had somebody in Johnson Bay quit after we hired somebody.
Well, actually, we didn't even get a
Somebody
chance to hire
They never
someone.
did hire first.
Yeah, we haven't
Oh, you
even
fine.
hired to replace the other one.
Okay,
We
so,
have people applying for the second opening position when we got authority just for one. And as an update for the inspector and the parish engineer, applications were due Monday. We are going to interview everyone, and we will come back next month with recommendations.
Okay, before we adjourn, I'd like to introduce Ms. Lorena Caesar, who's the Customer Service Manager for Energy. Ms. Lorena, thank you very much. Anything else?
3 add-ons. Present authority to execute contract with Waste Management upon legal approval. Permit for Priola and Delahaye Development that was tabled from last month, and authorize Fire District 14 to move forward on the Big Lake Fire Station contingent on Fire Board approval.
And one more thing, I'm saving it for last.
I'm
16 and
floating away
17.
here.
I'm trying to break lines, right?
You did.
16 and 17. Our road and bridge maintenance, our courthouse and jail maintenance tax, and our health unit tax all expire next year. So what would normally happen is next year we would call an election to renew it. Instead of waiting to next year to renew it, I would ask for the jury to consider calling an election this year prior to the renewal. The road and bridge would just be called, it wouldn't change, we would just be calling the election early for renewal. But item 16 is something a little different that I'd like to ask you guys to consider. So right now, the health unit maintenance tax that gets collected can only be spent on the health unit. And the courthouse and jail maintenance tax that's collected can only be spent on courthouse and jail. And since those taxes have been passed years ago, we have built the East Annex, the West Annex. We have the county agent building in Grand Lake. We're building the North Cameron EOC building. We have all of these parks and recs throughout the parish, boat launches, pavilions. All of those are covered out of your general fund. We don't have a maintenance tax to pay for that. So we have to use the general fund. So the general fund is your only pot of money that you could use for anything. It's unrestricted. If you want to pave a road with it, you can. If you want to hire someone, you can. If you want to build a boat launch, you can. This courthouse and jail tax and this health unit tax are restricted just for that. So instead of renewing those two taxes, I would ask for you to see about levying a new tax, a replacement tax. Don't levy courthouse and jail, don't levy health unit, levy a new one that is for maintenance of parish-wide facilities. That way, instead of using your general fund dollars on all these parks and recs and multipurpose buildings and these governmental buildings, you could use that maintenance tax to pay for it, and that would free up all of your general fund dollars. Start really using that to leverage any any grants to do coastal restoration projects and drainage projects. Roads, if we needed roads.
Right.
So right now you're spending on average East Annex, West Annex, courthouse, jail, county ag, and Cameron multipurpose building, and then all of the boat launches, you're about $1 million a year that you're taking out of the general, that you're taking between the two funds and paying for it. So if you levy this new tax for the same millage, you can pay for everything and still bank $200,000 at the end of the year surplus.
So we're not raising the taxes on the
You're not
people, we're
raising-
just changing the wording so we can use it for more things.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So we're gonna have to explain that to the people, because
Right.
they're gonna see new.
It's
Yes.
in lieu of,
It's just-
It
yeah.
says
It's just that we're gonna have to explain to
Yes,
them
sir.
that, look, we're gonna take these two taxes and do away with
Right.
them, and we're gonna call one, but we're gonna be able to use it for more. things.
everywhere, parish-wide. It won't just stay in Cameron for the
And it's
Cameron.
not gonna be no more than what the other one is.
Exactly. It collects the same tax, and you could pay for more things and still bank a surplus at the end of the year. And we talked to the sheriff about it at our meeting, and I think he's supportive of it, because it's the jail too. It's taking stuff from the jail.
I heard him say it too.
I should have recorded him, but yes, we did
I
talk to
did,
the
don't worry
sheriff
about it.
first to make sure that he understood it and was supportive of it, so.
As long as he
And-
gets what he needs, he'll be
Right.
happy.
So on average, you, taxes, you collect $1.4 million between the health unit and the courthouse and jail, and you would only spend $1.2 million to maintenance everything. So like I said, that's where your estimated 200,000 surplus. Now, this is something that will happen at the end of the year. We're just announcing that we would call an election. It's gonna give us time to have some town hall meetings throughout the summer and really explain it to everyone, because this is gonna be a parish-wide tax, so we're gonna need community support with everyone. So that's what we can anticipate, setting up those town hall meetings. We'd like to couple that with some redistricting meetings. And so those will be scheduled throughout the summer.
Where we stand on town hall meetings we've been supposed to get for the last 6 months.
That's exactly it. We are waiting on this discussion and redistricting. We'll start scheduling those out, like I said, May, June, July. People have a little bit more free time, and we'll start having, we'll probably have to do 2 rounds. That way we don't have, if we just have one meeting and people work offshore, so we'll try and schedule 2 rounds of town hall meetings. And we'll look at putting it maybe at all the high schools throughout the parish. So that's that. Now, we will have a town hall meeting that we're trying to schedule for the South Cameron area, but that is to talk specifically about the fire board consolidation tax, which that's gonna be, that election's in April. So we will schedule one for the South Cameron area, but it's specifically for that tax.
Where do we stand with the redistricting stuff? Are we still stalemate, we're kinda waiting on the school board?
Well, the school board does have some maps made available to the public, and they are scheduling their hearings right now. We're planning on attending a few of them. And then we had hired Kate Cole to draw up a few examples for us to consider.
Has he been back in touch with anything?
We're about to start scheduling meetings, yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, we got longer.
We do. We don't have to do it this year. We have till next year to do it.
Okay, I make a motion.
One thing before old Curtis using his pants.
Dude.
How about that time capsule we've been putting off for years now? When we doing that?
It's being planned, projected date, ceremony would be in the fall.
Okay, a lot of people still asking about that.
It's being planned right now.
That time
Opening that
capsule.
time capsule.
Hey, one other thing, look,
Thomas,
we have all the coffins and stuff in some trailers in Creo. It isn't moving. The tent's tore down. It's just sitting there, and I think that's a sad thing for our people of the parish to be sitting in some containers over there and not being taken care of.
Okay.
And they all have identities on them?
Well, I mean, there's nobody working to do nothing on it. You know what I'm saying? There's nobody attending.
What happened to
We
that
found some
task
more-
force?
Patrick found some more,
Caskets?
coffee caskets and he brought his forklift and everything down there, unloading, and I mean,
Okay, well,
but he's the only one doing anything for the parish on
we'll call,
What happened to that task force? Where's the task force?
that. That's what he's asking.
I'll give you an update.
All right, Lee.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Meeting adjourned.